Welcome back, fan stands, to the Week 2 finals between Valakut Ramp and Izzet Prowess. Valakut Ramp's played by Nikolay. They seek to put a bunch of lands into play ahead of schedule, and this turns on their Valakut to both win the game and lock up creatures. Meanwhile, Izzet Tempo is played by Miguel. You get a lot of power out of non-creature spells, powering up your Sprite Dragon and Young Pyromancer. Here's game 1. Now we have Nikolay on the left. They're playing the lands-based Valakut strategy. Meanwhile, Nigel on the right is a red-based aggro strat. In this matchup, the tempo deck's looking to aggro out Nikolay just before they can set up Valakut and just burn all the creatures that Miguel would ever play. And Miguel even has the play here. Going to start with a Grim Lavamancer and pass. Nikolay playing a first place promo Mountain from Aether Drift. He's just going to pass the turn as well. Now, even though Valakut is a Gruul-based strategy, you don't really play any red cards. You mostly just have the mountains for Valakut. So Nikolay not having any green mana to develop any creatures or play any ramp spells is going to be pretty bad for them. And here we have Miguel just cycling an expedite, draw. Grim Lavamancer can really take advantage of all these cantrips and start burning people in the face, or maybe take care of creatures. Miguel deciding to attack with both. Nikolay sees that there's no good news on the lands coming. Maybe was hoping that that Goblin Guide would get them their green land sooner. But that Burst Lightning gonna take out the Goblin Guide after its trigger resolves. Miguel just gonna continue to get perfect mana. Now, in this Prowess strategy, you want to get those tokens on the Sprite Dragon and your tokens from the Young Pyromancer quite proactively. So this tempo deck doesn't run a ton of counterspells in the main, only 2 Spell Pierce. Otherwise, these Rugrin Triumphs could be putting in work, boosting up evasive actions. And we see this is an Izzet deck, but it does companion Lurrus, so that's why the Rugrin Triumphs and the Battlefield Forge especially are here. Miguel setting up a way to deal with one of Nikolay's creatures, holding up the Grim Lavamancer activation. Want to be able to cash in those spells before the Lavamancer gets removed and deal extra damage. Now we have an elemental token. Miguel with a lot of lands in play. He's probably looking to buy Lurrus soon. Now, normally Miguel would have to worry about overextending into the board against a Kozilek's Return, but that's not in the main deck for Nikolay's strategy. Nikolay just buying Gigantha, passing the turn. Miguel wanting to get an extra creature in play right now, an extra great guard in graveyard. And yeah, Nikolay just not drawing the green mana for their mostly green spells. Miguel takes it. All right, we're back into game 2. It looks like Miguel's going to be down a card, maybe even 2. Yeah, now it's Miguel's turn to... Let's see. Are they only keeping... Wow, bottoming 3 cards. A multi 4. And already Nikolay in a much better spot on the play against the red aggro deck and has green mana to actually play their spells this time. Miguel just a Shiv and Reef, so it does have access to all their colors. Just gonna have to hope to do anything. And all right, and already an early hurdle jumped over by Miguel. Is able to dodge the turn 2 ramp spell. And that fetch would have done really well with the Colony Heart Expedition, but instead it'll just be holding up probably a Burst Lightning and able to develop more green mana in this basically mono-green deck. That's the cool thing that fetches and triumphs enable. You get to explore all the synergies of mono mountains, mono plains, mono swamps, and so on, while still being able to play other colors. And Nicolay slamming Mina and Den down to play an extra land every turn, can bounce lands to hand so that you can get more landfall triggers. And Miguel wants nothing of it. He's going to kill it, but still getting 2 cards from Miguel when they've already mulled so far down, and getting that extra land drop to accelerate. The Mina and Den did its job. And there's Valakut. Nicolay going to buy Giganta. Miguel not playing the Spreading Seas there because they want to Spreading Seas the Valakut that just turns it into a straight island, gets no text. And Miguel wondering if they should be mana efficient and play this of one mind, or if they're worried about the Valakut. Yep. And you don't want to play the creature there because if Nicolay does get to enough mountains, then they just get to kill the Spray Dragon for free. Oracle of Moldiah finds a land off the top. We play Valakut. Get a free land. And the burn's already starting. Valakut only needing 5 mountains. Means that it gets online rather quickly. And Miguel just drawing, trying to find something, but this is very rough. At this point, every ramp spell counts for extra burn. And we have Giganta just piling on the beats. And not a whole lot Miguel can do here, especially with all this painful mana. Is it one of the better colors for mana, but doesn't mean that it's completely free, especially if you want to companion the Solaris. Here we have Grim Lavamancer and Pyro. We can... Okay. Burst Lightning means you don't draw the card, means you don't get to answer the Oracle, and that's just game. Miguel gonna pack it up, and we're moving on to game 3. Let's see, will the Nicolay be 2-time champion, or Miguel best this Valakut strategy? All right, we're moving on to game 3. Let's see if both players can keep somewhat decent hands. But it looks like Miguel's already mulliganing down to 5 again. At least they're on the play, so they get to try to go for the aggressive tempoing out, but not the fast turn 1 play. You're not bluffing a Spell Pierce here, because that landfall doesn't do anything early. And no turn 2 creature either. So we have a couple cantrips that we're hoping to get one of our prowess creatures first for. Here we're slowing down the turn 2 ramp spell. Looks like we have a Sylvan Advocate to block creature aggression. But still holding up this Burst Lightning. Spreading Seas to turn off the green. As, again, this is basically a mono green deck. Splashing for Valakut. Or dedicating its whole land base to Valakut. But Nikolay finds another green source. Not cracking the fetch now because you can't Spreading Seas the fetch land. I mean, you'll force them to crack it, but then the spell fizzles, you don't draw a card, and you don't keep them off of the green mana that you're actually hoping to do. And Miguel just looking to slow down any activation of Valakut is going to Spreading Seas the mountain. Trying to also cantrip towards some actual pressure because, yeah, you've got disruption, but you want to have a creature on the board while you're doing all this disruption. You need to be pushing the aggro plan. So you're buying time, but not using it. And 3 mana, or 2 mana here for a Lotus Cobra. So now, hard to keep Nikolay off of green at this point. You need to both kill the Cobra, which Miguel does have the burn spell to do. Alright. Got 2 mana in the pool. What are we doing with it? Looks like we have access to Colony Heart, and that can hold up burn spell. But this Advocate's gonna lock things down on the ground. No Goblin Guides are gonna be able to get through. Young PZ's gonna be stifled for a while. Let's see. It's a rough mold of 5, but let's see if we can get there. Expedite just to cycle. We're really filling up the graveyard for Grim Lavamancer and all that, but we need the creatures, and we're just not getting it. Buying Loris doesn't do much here either, because you're really far away from casting it. No white mana currently. And it's looking a little dreadful. But we still have Of One Mind to get our Sprite Dragon as a flyer. We can protect it if they try to kill it right away because we have Spell Pierce. But now you're facing beats from the Cobra Sylvan Advocate combo, and could be able to grow this Sylvan Advocate if you get any ramp spell here, but looks like we don't have that. Just play an Oracle Moldiah. Would have liked to see this before combat, in case you hit double runner land to grown the Advocate. Yeah, technically you see that beforehand. And what technically shouldn't have been able to respond unless Nikolay was passing the turn, but I don't think you pass the turn if you have another land drop you can make. Oh, I see there's a trigger from Lotus Cobra. That makes sense. Alright, third Spreading Seas, trying to cut off green. Need to kill this Lotus Cobra if you truly want to be able to get rid of that. And here Miguel wants to play the Sprite Dragon, but doesn't have a way to pump it out of range of Burst Lightning. Actually would have liked if Nikolay had an extra mana to be tempted to just be mana efficient and fire that off, but now Nikolay can pay for Spell Pierce, and Miguel can't double spell to protect it. Unless Nikolai goes for the kicked version of burst, just like in case Miguel does have that double cantrip. But then you're playing into the spell pierce. Not if you play Misty first and add mana with Cobra, then you can pay for spell pierce with a kicked burst lightning. At this point, you have the game so locked up that like you can afford to be a little bit slower. Miguel's already cycled a lot of cantrips into the yard. Here we go, 4 damage with Sylvan Advocate. Can also try to pass the turn, tempt Miguel to fetch, and in this window, you can burst lightning the Sprite Dragon. There's only one mountain up to play a spell, but Nikolai not taking it. Miguel grabbing the Rogran Triumph for Luris. And here we start with an of one mind. Probably this is where you point your removal spell. But no, Nikolai, I guess you are 1 point away from killing here. So you can just burst lightning face. Instead, gonna K return. Miguel going to be able to save their Sprite Dragon with the spell pierce. As even though Nikolai can pay for it, he'll still get a counter on the Sprite Dragon. Here we let the counter resolve. I think there's one forest in the deck, so Nikolai can fetch for an untapped source if this is double pierce action, because you've got Lotus Cobra. But we're gonna just burst lightning, finish them off. And it's Nikolai's turn. One damage off. Just attack for 4 with Sylvan Advocate. Play an Oracle. You could have hit land, but no, that still doesn't do it. Miguel checking the graveyard to see if there's anything they might have missed. Drawing a land, not the best there. A fetch you can't tap. We're buying and playing Luris, and then playing Grim Lavamancer. K return should do it here. Get rid of the blockers and kill with Sylvan Advocate. And that's a good game. Nikolai, 2-time champion. Both with this Luris, or this Valakut strategy. Congratulations to Nikolai. And good fight from Miguel.